Good morning, USA. What's up, man? Everybody, we have Maria Rodriguez here, a.k.a. the insurance chick, with us today. What's up, Maria?
Hey guys, thank you for having me on.
A little bit
A little
closer.
closer, baby.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Closer.
Thank you for having me on tonight.
Perfect. There
I
we
hope
go.
you're going to edit this, right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
We're good. We're good.
We got
good.
captions just in case.
So, yeah, man, Maria, I've known Maria for a few years now. I think I had you on Living in Mayhem a couple times. We used to
Yes.
podcast together. She used to have her own podcast as well, and she has your own insurance agency, right?
Yes, I'm a broker.
A broker?
Yes.
Closer.
An insurance broker.
There we go. Awesome.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
You good, you good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, man. So
Yeah. So last week, guys, we didn't have an episode because we were at a event for our agency in Orlando. So we have two events a year. This was the mid-year event. We had a great time. Jennifer was actually there. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about the event and your experience.
Man, that event, when I tell you, well, everybody was like, you have to go. It's, it's going to make a difference. Let me tell you, yes, it did. It really put everything into perspective, and it really fired up something different inside of me, and it helped me change some perspectives on things. And even though I haven't been in the office for the last 2 meetings, my head is still on focus mode. You know what I mean? And it also gave me a moment of clarity, being out of my normal environment for about a week. And it did a good reset on some things, along with hearing stories of people who went to their first big event with no money in their bank. They just figured it out. And, it gave a lot of hope to a lot of people, including myself, just to see, wow, these people came from this, and now look at them. They're like over there. And it was really inspiring and also a calibrating experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for me, that was that was like my 7th event. I don't even know which one it is.
They do 2 a year.
Yeah,
so
2 a
one
year.
in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and then one about midway
So 19,
to the year.
20, 21, 22. So that would be my 9th event. Yeah, 9th event. And I also, first time I was like, man, like you, I was like, they be hyping this up. Why? Like, what is it? Like, what is it? Is it motivation stuff? But then when you go there and you see people that are just like us and they're making really good income, and you're like, really what you ask yourself is like, what's the difference between them and I? There's not much difference. They're just consistent, more consistent because they're there, right? Or they've been there longer. They didn't quit. So I never really got emotional. I'm not going to lie. I get emotional. I don't know why. I get emotional every time I hear the what is it called? When the flag. I got a brain fart.
Oh,
National anthem.
National anthem. Every time I hear that, I get super emotional. And I saw that like one of the for the football game for the what is it called?
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl. Sorry,
Chris Stapleton
yeah.
singing it.
Yeah, I was like, I feel you, bro, because that's me every single time. But then when I saw Matt Zapala, he's one of our coaches. He was speaking. He was doing the training, and then he was like, "I'm gonna introduce you guys to someone that's super important to me." And I thought he was talking about his wife, but he brought in his mom. Man, that got me because I imagine myself being out there and doing the same thing, and my mom talking about me like that. That got me hella emotional. She was right next to me. I was like, trying to turn my face to the side. I was like. But it was a great event. It was a great event, and I'm looking forward to Vegas. You better
I
be
also
there.
cried
Oh, yeah.
too. And there was a moment where I felt after Shantae, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
Shantae Lowe.
Yeah.
She was I think 4-time, I'm sorry if I'm mistaken, Olympic athlete, gold medal athlete, I believe. And her story was just so amazing. She was training for the Olympics during her cancer treatments. And I was like, damn, if she could do that, like, where's the excuse?
Yeah.
Where is the excuse? And then after, we got let out to have lunch, I felt so emotional. I felt so like, I even screamed, and Oscar was like, Oscar, I really want to scream right now. And he was like, do it. So I screamed like a lunatic in the conference.
People were like, what the is going on?
Yeah. And I was like,
Yo.
F that. I don't care. Like, I feel so like, invigorated. And it's like, you can't hold that back. You know what I'm saying? When you feel that feeling, just unleash.
Yeah.
Because that feeling has been sitting in you and it wants to get out. You know what I'm saying?
I can share a little bit about when I went last year though, with about the whole tearitis situation.
Yeah.
I remember Erica's testimony.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Erica, she's like, average woman from California, and she was an egg packer. She would pack eggs, and like through insurance, she found financial freedom. And I was like, whoa,
Crazy, right?
Way from egg packing to insurance.
Yeah. So now talking about insurance, we have the insurance chick, Maria. So Maria, tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, where your family comes from, and then just walk us through a little bit of your life and where you are now.
So I'm originally from Bolivia.
You want to closer?
I'm originally from.
There we go.
Is this one good?
Yes.
Like you're going to freestyle,
All right, hold up. So I'm originally from Bolivia. I was born in Bolivia.
Nice.
Both of my parents are Bolivian, and my mom decided to come and visit my sisters here that were older than I, of course, because they just had their babies, and then she decided to stay, and I was 4 years old. So I would say I'm not from there, but I'm not from here. I don't know if you
that makes
if you
sense.
guys feel
Yeah.
if you guys were born in another country. Grew up in the city of Alexandria, went to T.C. Williams.
Hey, shout out T.C. Williams.
Hey,
And
I never made it, but hey.
and I wanted to go to college, but there was some issues or something that really molded me that happened in my life growing up with my family, and that didn't seem like a possibility for me because I had a lot of responsibilities. So I did want to go to school, but I didn't even know how to get there. So I decided to start working, and I am a woman of faith that I've been working on for probably like now 20 years.
Wow.
And I think it's a forever thing that we need to work on and just pour into ourselves. But, I wanted to know where I was going to go or what was my calling. And I had a great mentor when I was in school, and she was a social worker. And when I figured out what a social worker did, I was like, that is what I want to be, And then I found out you have to have a master's to work in Virginia. And long story short, I was like, yeah, I can't make that much, like $20,000 a year and be in debt like $100,000. Like it just didn't.
So you have a brain.
It didn't make sense,
mathematically.
And then I was like, I'll probably get locked up because I'll probably have like all the kids in my house. So, again, went back to my faith and just wondered at a 20-year-old age, like, what should I do? What's my calling? I worked in the dealership industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Accounting and, all the admin stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to work for HBO where they sell Mercedes and Audis.
Nice.
And I met this guy, and he said he was there for his birthday. And the next week he came to pick up his car, and I asked him how was his birthday. And he was like, how did you know it was my birthday? I said, I was, helping you last week, checking out. And he basically said to me, how much do they pay you here? And how can you come work for me? And I was like, okay. He gave me his card, and it said State Farm, and it said CEO, right? I knew what a CEO meant. And I knew, and I was like, he's the CEO of State Farm, and he wants to offer me a job. I have insurance with State Farm. So I reached out to him. He was in Old Town, and he basically gave me the opportunity and told me what all it was about. Of course, you have to get licensed and everything. And that's how I got into the insurance. After a couple of months, I was like, yeah, maybe this is not for me, you know. Yeah, you know, he didn't push me to sell or anything. It was just servicing. And I went back to the dealership. And at that time, my insurance agent was calling me to make my payment because I was late. Since I was transitioning from jobs, I was missing my payment. And she would call me she's my best friend now. She would call me and tell me, hey, you need to pay. And I'm like, I'll come next week. I'm coming tomorrow, you know. So I end up going. And, of course, God is perfect in his timing. I end up going on a Thursday evening. And the manager was there. And she basically said, do you want a job? Because we're looking for someone in Spanish. And I said no, because I don't want to get my license and everything that goes into it. But I needed more income, and so she said you could do part-time. I went into starting and working for them part-time. And, again, the owner of that agency is still one of my mentors and one of my great friends today.
Nice.
And she basically said, again, how much do you want? Come and work for me. Sometimes I think when we're young, or even in our 30s or 40s, sometimes we can't see the gift that we have, or we can't accept it, or we're so bombarded with like now social media and everything else.
Distractions.
Survival, just a lot of things, you know, and maybe not having that support either from like your loved ones, your family, or like a group, like you're saying that you went to this event where you do see the possibilities.
Yeah.
And so she saw something in me, and she basically said, I will help you get your license. And sure enough, I got my licenses, and I was just basically whatever they said, I would say it in Spanish. Whatever they did, I added a little bit extra, and I was, you know, I just loved it.
You were very coachable.
Yeah. I think I loved it because I got to help people. I would have a lot of people would come in, and they would, you know, either they didn't speak English, or it was their new time having their car, or, you know, they just had a baby or something like that, you know, and you get to meet these people in the insurance industry. So I just felt like I was a social worker because I would read their mail for them. I would help them fill out an application. And, you know, next thing you know, I was selling them a policy, you know. And that's how I started in the insurance industry. And then I had another mentor as well, and he wanted me to become an agent with State Farm. And he asked me, Maria, why don't you want to become an agent? Like, what is holding you from going from a staff to the next step? Do you feel like you can do it? And I was like, clearly I can, you know? And I knew that within myself, but I knew there's something more that goes into being an entrepreneur, other than being a good salesperson, other than being super smart. There's something. I didn't know what that was, but I knew it was something else that I knew at that time I didn't have. But he said, do you feel like you can't sell, or is it the servicing? And I said, well, if I'm servicing you and I don't sell you what you need, am I really doing a good service? And then if I'm not selling you, well, if I don't sell you what you need, I'm not giving you good service. And if I don't give you good service and I have like a shitty, you know, personality or just nasty person, you're not going to buy crap from me, you know? So I stayed with him. He got promoted to corporate. And again, God's perfect in how he does. Somebody called, and that call wasn't even for me. And I ditched the guy a couple of times. And then the third time, like, they invited me again. I just went because of I was like, damn, I must look like a really, like, unresponsible bitch or something like that. You know, I don't know. And I was still going, and then I was going to Mason. I was paying my way through college. And by then I had decided I was doing business administration and marketing. And I said, fine, I'll meet you. I made it so difficult. I was like, I'll meet you here.
Who was this guy?
He's the owner of the brokerage that I'm with, which is Trey Mock.
So you were blocking your blessings.
I think so. I think I was afraid of change. You know, what did that look like?
It can be scary.
You know, yeah. And I said, fine, let me just go. And again, I worked for State Farm, like the Mercedes-Benz of insurance, right? Like that's what we learn, and like it's the number one, and you just see certain things. But if you're not exposed to like other things in this world within your industry, or with expanding your network, because I believe your network is your net worth. Not just your net worth in your financial and your bank account, but like emotionally, financially, and spiritually. I think it goes hand in hand.
Amen.
I ended up meeting him, and I basically told him, if you want me to work for you, I need this. I need flexibility for my school. I mean, I told him everything. I think I might have told him I needed a white horse. I don't know. And he said, all right, well, we'll talk. And then I got an offer letter.
Nice.
Yeah. So I started working in the brokerage. Super scary because it's a different world than if you would just go direct with a company. But I knew from your licenses, so for you guys know, but if you are with a captive agent, which would be like a State Farm and Allstate, they represent a company, and then they sell on their behalf.
And they own your book of business too.
Yes. And it depends on the carrier or the company. But when you're with a broker, and I believe you guys are brokers, correct?
Yeah.
Per se, because you guys don't work for one particular. You guys don't work for one particular company.
Yeah, we work with several companies.
Right. So when you're a broker, you represent your client, and you find the company that's best for them, and you have options. So I worked at State Farm in 2015. Make sure you let me know if I need to wrap it up or keep it.
2 more minutes.
Okay. So I was there during the time where it was the big, huge boom, right? Where everybody was buying houses. Everybody was making money. Latinos were making a lot of money in construction. They were buying like $500,000 houses. And I'm like, but that house is only worth like $2. But anyways, you got the loan.
Tell them.
I get
the crash was coming.
I have no idea, right? When I'm at State Farm, I saw that. And then I was there in 2008 when the crash happened. So I did see a lot of people like lose everything, be super devastated from that. And that was very scary. And I had my clients that loved me, that loved doing business with me, that they, I knew everything about them. But I didn't have other options for them. So that's why I decided to go into the brokerage. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm going to give it a try. Worst comes to worst, I'll go back to State Farm. So I've been with the brokerage for 3 years. I wanted to run because I started with 0 clients and 0 everything. I just had a laptop and a phone.
I feel you because that's how I started.
Yeah, and
and it's hard. It's hard to go from when you are working with, let's say, at the dealership. I was in the car deal and in the car business too. Clients come to you. You have, especially if you're friends with like the managers and, you buy them lunch and do this and they give you clients. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, cars, done deals are coming in. The same with State Farm. They're calling in. You pick up the phone. That's your lead. Yeah. Versus you owning your own, you having skin in the game and being a broker. Guess what? You need to find your clients. You need to build your book of business.
Yeah.
No one knows you, so you got to earn trust.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but it's worth it.
It's definitely worth it because it teaches you. At that time, you should always. That's why I say relationships are so important. It doesn't matter if it's I don't care who it is, and relationships are so important because when I went to this brokerage, I had to hit those doors. I had to knock those doors of my relationships.
You did door knocking? Door knocking?
No.
Oh,
my relationship base. Yeah. And I also did, at some point, I took my kids and I'm like, pass out the flyers, But I went to those agents that, because one of my mentor that was key in my success till today, even as a person, we were top, 17 out of, 30,000 agents at that time. And agents used to call and they used to say, oh, do you think you can tell me how you did this? What's working with this? And some people might say like, no, I'm not going to tell you. You're my competitor. Like, I'm not going to tell you my tricks. I'm not going to tell you my things. And that's true.
That's crazy.
That's true.
Lack mentality.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, sure, because I can't be duplicated, right? And what it's for them is for them. So I would tell them everything. I would give them my wording. I would give them everything to their staff, to them. And hey, if you have a question, if you need help, I'll help you. I never thought about, one day I'm going to come and ask you for something.
Yeah.
And, fast forward, when it was time, I went and I said, hey, I'm working here. I'm doing this. I'm building my book. And they were like, sure. Like, they knew me and they were comfortable sending me their clients. But I also gave them my word that I wouldn't solicit their other lines of insurance.
Nice.
So I was able to build a book there. I've been with that agency for 11 years.
Nice.
I now, at that time I started, I would write anything. I would insure your dog, your mom, your dad. I mean, anything. I was going to insure anything and everything and figure it out. Because, again, I was just doing auto and life insurance at State Farm.
Nice.
And when I came here, I needed to learn commercial. And I needed to learn commercial quick.
Here's where.
In the brokerage. So, because it was heavy commercial, in this Northern Virginia. They're the top 3 agencies in Northern Virginia. And I'm a competitor as well. So I love to I love to beat myself, and my challenges that
beat your prior best.
Yeah, and I knew, like, what am I going to do? Turn back? I mean, that was a possibility, but I didn't want to do that.
No.
And I just built the book there for about 11 years. I got into commercial. Back again, I met this girl. She passed away. She's rest her soul. But she was in the transportation business. She was top 500 in the Forbes, and she was Latina. And in transportation and, entrepreneur, go-getter. And she basically told me, what is your goal? And I told her I want to do $1 million a year in premium, And she said, you could do it. And she's like, have you thought about insuring truckers? And so I started learning about dump trucks and going and learning into the industry. And I got into transportation. By then I had my daughter, my second daughter. Yeah. And I needed money. Okay.
So one thing, I'm sorry to cut you off. One thing that I do want to mention to you guys is something key that she said was, no one in the industry teaches you anything, whether they're in the same brokerage. What's our office like?
Yeah, it's way different than that.
You can talk to Saeed. You can talk to anybody. When you're at a big event, you can stop anybody. They'll be like, hey, what do you do? They'll share with you. And that's the difference, too, that I see a lot in the industry is that everybody has this scarce mentality that they don't want to share their tricks and stuff. And everybody wants to, like we were talking last time with your friend, with Camille, everybody wants to talk about the accolades and, their success and their Lambo and their, their offices and all that, but nobody wants to share the nuggets. And that's one huge thing about that you guys should think about that, about what we do. So now, one thing that I wanted to ask you about is what the importance of insurance, because most of us, when we I'm from Paraguay, in Paraguay, we don't really think about insurance. I remember having like health insurance when I was growing up, but auto insurance, we never had auto insurance. Never.
Definitely not life insurance.
What? Life insurance? I didn't even know what that was until I came here. You know what I mean? So it's here in this country, insurance is super important because I would say that it's what the wealthy do. They use somebody else's money. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So I just wanted I just want you to share a little bit about, do you guys have any questions for her? I mean, I don't mean to hog like all the questions.
No, go ahead. I'll be next.
Okay. Just the importance of insurance in this country and how, especially when it comes down to life insurance, we insure our phones, our iPads, our cars, our homes. We insure everything. But then when it comes to life insurance, we think of it as something negative. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me say something. The only thing we have guaranteed in this world is that we're going to die, right?
Don't forget taxes.
Yeah, and taxes. Well, even taxes, you can find ways
You can find
as we
ways.
know, the prior years. But I knew that, that's the only thing that's guaranteed. And I used to like joke with my clients, and I used to tell them, if we all knew our expiration date and it was like tattooed on our foot or something, I would be rich as hell selling life insurance, right? And with it, I guess it depends also the culture in our community. We don't believe in that because, they put money under the bed. They think the insurance company is going to rob you, because there has been some insurance companies, not the company maybe, but people that sell without integrity, people that are not they're not learning their craft, put a bad name to insurance, I think, agents or brokers or whatever. But I thought it was important. Why? And I learned that really quick at State Farm, because I had a client, paid his insurance always in full. He was from Peru, always paid it like 2 weeks in advance, was building his house. He had his business. He took care of his kids. Older man. I never knew his wife, but I knew his wife lived a pretty good life. She didn't have to like really work, but she did. And I would always tell him like to buy life insurance, because you're trying to make your numbers, right? So until you know your purpose, and in the beginning, like you meaning numbers, or you wanting to make this income, if you do not understand your purpose in your industry, and you don't understand the purpose in your life, and like what legacy you want to leave for your children or anything like that, life insurance to you seems like I don't need it, or anything like that. And then the people that are selling it are not really, they're selling it versus teaching you why this is important. Well, the guy for years paid always on time, had everything with me. I get a report and I'm like, he's late. I'm like, that's so weird. He must be in Peru, because he would always travel. I was like, but he paid 6 months ago, right? So it's time to pay. And I was like, that's so weird. I was like, he must be in Peru. He never pays late. All the years that I had worked in that office, never paid late, always actually paid on like early. And he was one of the few Latino customers that paid in full, right? Because everybody paid month to month.
Yeah.
Most of my clients. And I called and they said my dad died. I said, well, he was just here paying his insurance. And he was so sweet, and he was always so funny. He would always say how he was going to live forever. And he shared all the projects he had in his life, his business that he was doing with his son, and brought his son in. His daughter was like, I think, a single mom, and he was taking care of his grandkids. I mean, he would, when you're in insurance, they share a lot of information with you about their life.
Yeah.
Because I took care of his home and auto and everything. And I was just like, what? And all I could think about is like, wow, I did a disservice.
So he never had a policy?
He never had life insurance, because he would always say he doesn't need it, because he's going to live forever.
Oh my God.
He was well off. He didn't need it. Well, his wife, I met his wife, his kids and everything. And his wife was like, thank God I was working, and I was able to put him on my health insurance, but he had like stage 4 cancer, and he just basically died super quick. And she said, I don't even know what we would have not done if we didn't even have the health insurance with the expenses and everything. And now you go from one income, 2 incomes to 1 income. And the main breadwinner is here with, now it's I'm sorry, but he's an expense, right? You can't work. This is the reality of it, and I don't, and after that experience for me, I learned to be very bold and very direct. Because some people, if you like, well, I think you need life insurance, and what do you think? No, we're not having that conversation, especially not if you're like a good friend of mine, or like a client that I anybody, I don't think I would be doing my job. So long story short, I had to call them to pay. They were late on $30, because now we had to go from a 6 months payment plan to a month to month.
Yeah.
And it was super, super sad, because they were going to lose their house. The son didn't want to continue the business anymore, because I'm sure it was super difficult.
Devastated, huh?
That quick, it can go crumbling down.
Everything went, it was tumbling. It was like, I don't know. It was just falling apart for them. And I learned then that, it was my job to educate my clients and tell them the importance of life insurance for them. And so then from there, I decided to be super bold on how I approach my clients, make sure that I'm very knowledgeable on my products to make sure that I can provide that to the client to make sure that it's a good fit for you.
So what do you say to clients that are like, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't want to think about that. Whoever is going to get that money when I die, I don't care about that. Because a lot of people think of it very short-sighted. They don't really think about, the legacy, what they're going to set up for their grandkids, which is smart, but some people don't have that in their scope.
Some guys used to tell me, "Oh, I'm not gonna leave money for the next one, or whatever."
Didn't my dad tell you that?
Yeah, and
that's hilarious.
You know what I tell them? When you leave your wife and your children, right? She's gonna find another man, but you're gonna make sure she finds a man real quick after you die, because the necessity might make her find a man super quick.
Yeah, survival.
Super quick. Or they would say, "Oh no, he's gonna kill me or she's gonna kill me," and I would say, "Well, each of you guys get a policy, so both of you guys can sleep with one eye open, And I would just be super transparent, and I would I would acknowledge and respect them, but I want to have more conversations with you on why do you feel that way. I have somebody that will tell me, "Well, I had to work for everything." So they got to work for everything.
Yeah.
Short-sighted thinking. A little. Because, if you have kids, you want to think about, the way I look at it is every generation shouldn't have to start from scratch.
When people say that to me, I see that person is still walking with that pain of whatever struggle they had to go through, right? And I like to discover a little bit more about that. And it has to be an intimate conversation where they're now going to feel comfortable with me. And because I'm a broker and I'm not just doing life insurance, I do their commercial insurance, I do their car insurance, their home. I feel that I get a closer look into their stuff. And that's why sometimes I do partner with people like you guys that might just do life insurance, because I can tell you a little bit more about my client, or you could tell me a little bit more about your client. And maybe at this time, you can't help them with the life insurance for whatever reason it may be. Yeah. But say, hey, you know what? I know this is not in your budget because you have to pay your car insurance, your this insurance, or whatever. Why don't you talk to my girl, Maria? Maybe she can save you some money. And if you just help them with something that maybe is a need for them at that time, they may come back around. But what I do tell my client, or my prospect, if you do not buy it from me, buy it somewhere. Let me tell you where you can get it sometimes for free. Call your credit cards. Call your, check your bank. Get something.
What do you mean call your credit cards?
Because some credit cards offer you some type of life insurance on there for an extra $2, or it's a benefit or something like that.
Or credit unions.
Credit unions,
that.
yeah.
A small, but it's something.
Like a $5,000 or $3,000.
$50,000.
Yeah.
For funeral costs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I definitely tell them that, because again, it's not my sale. It's not about the sale. It's about me educating my community, educating who comes across me, to let them know the importance of life insurance. And I just tell them, I hope your wife doesn't have to put something at Puerto Rico.
I hear that.
Okay.
You tell them like that?
Yes, I do.
Yo.
Because when
she
women
went hand
can
with
do
my
that.
dad
Women
too,
can,
bro.
Oh, for real. Yeah.
I mean, it's the reality. I'm like, okay, fine. Totally get it. I understand. They have to figure it out. You're not trying to pay nothing off. Totally get it. But do you want to be a burden because you are going to be a cost to them?
Because your ego.
A lot of times we have to re-educate these people as to, hey, this is what it's like. This is what, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And just reshift their mentality around things.
And from an entrepreneur, someone that wants to grow their business, because again, I wanted to be a social worker, but I'm not. Okay, so back again, and I have a business mentality, and I learned this from this guy. His name is Sergio. Super cocky. Like when I met him, I was like, "What a dick!" You know, he thinks he knows everything, but he taught me something because he had like a boot camp, and he's like, "Make a list of 100 people, and if you don't have that list, don't fucking show up." I was like, oh, really? I'm going to have 150 people on my list, and I'm going to show up to your class. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, and I stuck to it. And sometimes I, as an agent or as a salesperson, you're trying to like, if we're in this industry, we love to help people, right? But I can help you, but you have to help yourself. Like, I can't save you.
Help me help you.
Yeah. And if you don't want the help, totally get it. And I move on. But I used to get so hung up on an account, you know. Well, why doesn't, you know, Jessica doesn't want to buy. She needs it. Like, she's so sweet. She's so nice. She has these kids. And, you know, all of this stuff. I was so invested.
Emotionally attached.
And he was like, move on, girl. I was like, all right, cool. But I made sure, he's like, but just make sure when you present it and when you do that, put that there and then put it in the back burner and do a follow-up or something like that, you know. So I'm super direct again with my clients about the urgency of that. And if they don't qualify for whatever reason, because, you know, again, they think that they can buy any time.
Yeah.
I let them know, hey, let's try to find some other things that we could put in place for right now, as you know, that there could be. And I had this guy, he was with State Farm. He was a playboy, and, you know, so, and he ended up having a kid, and I was like, now you need I was like, okay, well, he was a playboy, right? So he doesn't have no responsibilities, then he doesn't need insurance.
He has to play with his boy.
Right. And now he had a kid. I was like, now this is my great opportunity to tell him he needs to buy life insurance, because now he has a need. Nope, it still wasn't a need for him.
So I want to share something with you real quick. So I had a client, right? We try to get her insured for 2 years now. They kept postponing it because she had to get a surgery. She was gonna get surgery done for a gastric sleeve. She didn't do it the year that she was supposed to do it, and then she didn't do it again, and then she finally did it. Right? She got not declined, but postponed twice. Yeah, twice. Now that was 2 years ago. So now finally she got it done. She lost weight and everything. So we got an approval, and now we got an approval, and the payment went up $75 because of the risk. Yeah, the risk. And also it was some other stuff too. So it wasn't just that. So then now she calls her son, right? She was like, well, my son told me it's too expensive. I was like, ma'am, is your son is he a financial professional? Is he in the financial services industry? Is he a life insurance agent? No, of course you know more. I was like, no, I'm not saying I know more. But how does he know that I work with 15 different companies? This is the only company that will approve you. And it's not even that much. It's only $75 more than we were approved. And I was like, she was like, I'm going to wait. I was like, okay, let me tell you something. And I know her family and everything. And I was like, look, let's think worst case scenario. Let's say something happens, something else happens, and you cannot get approved. Now, what are you going to do? I was like, what about your credit? All the credit that you have, you know, debt, all this debt, what's going to happen? That's going to go to your family? What if something happens and you need money for health to fix your health? I was like, this has long-term care and disability. You have access to all this. She was like, oh, I'm going to talk to my son. I was like, okay, you do that, ma'am. But all I'm saying is that I'm telling you, take advantage of this situation. You know how long it took us. We applied for the policy in December. Just now it got approved because we needed all these things. I was like, the ball's in your court. I was straight up. I was like, I know your family. I know you. For $75 more, you're just not gonna get anything. That's fine. Go for it. But it's like you gotta be straight up with them.
Yeah. Like what I was saying, that guy, he didn't need it. He's young. Guess what? He called me. And he said, I'm coming to your office. I'm ready to get the life insurance. I was like, what changed? I was like, there's something that fucking happened. I was like, all right. So he shows up and he basically told me, and he must have been under 30. Great shape. I mean, nothing, you could think of. He said he was driving and he just felt like he couldn't breathe. He barely could make it to the hospital, and he had like a heart, like a condition that he didn't know of. Well, I was like, it's too late. People think that you have forever, and they do not. First of all, when I talk to people, if I'm talking to you about life insurance or you come to me, you need life insurance, we go over the plans and everything like that. And I remind you that this is not like you can just buy it. It's not like you can go buying car insurance. This is not like you just go buy a house, home insurance, or your phone insurance. This is a possibility.
It's a luxury.
Well, I don't think it's a luxury, but because it's a necessity, but it's a possibility because you still have to go through underwriting.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard some stories, especially at big events, of people who unfortunately didn't pull the trigger when they needed to, and there's some sad stories of people who weren't covered. And sometimes when you meet that life insurance agent, that might be a blessing in disguise at the right time. And sometimes we don't want to see those blessings. We want to block them, and we want to be like, no, not right now. I don't need this. Or you're just trying to sell me. But no, maybe a year, 6 months from now, something tragic does happen. And I don't want to scare people, but the reality is nowadays a lot more people are sick. A lot more people get cancer. There's just a lot more chemicals in a lot of things. That's the reality.
I mean, during the pandemic, I was selling life insurance like hotcakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, but why do you wait for that?
Right.
Human nature,
Yeah, I've had doctors that never smoked have lung cancer. So I've been in the industry for over now 20 years. I've seen a few things, and I do share those things. And like a lot of people now know that I do insurance, and they'll come and ask me. But sometimes, they have to wait for their brother, best friend to die, or for them to get a scare, or for them now to have a condition. And I mean, preparation's everything. And if this is a possibility, I remember we had a book of like if you have obstacles or something like, with your client, what to say next. And I had a good girlfriend of mine, Dayanara. I was teaching her how to sell. And I'll tell you something. You never know who that client may be if you're going into this business. And she gave a quote to this guy, and she was like, I don't know if he can afford it because he's just a cook somewhere, I don't know. I was like, well, you did the need analysis. You know how much you need. You know what he needs. Give him the quote. Give him a term and give him a permanent, because we talked about these things.
Yeah.
And she was like very afraid, and gave him the quote, the cheapest one, right? And he was like, oh, well, can I see what the other policy was, which was like $500 a month? And she's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Stop. And so we started doing the application, and he was the chef at the White House.
Nice.
Oh, so he was getting.
So he could, 500 was good.
Nice little check.
But, the few of my mentors that I had, he was like, because I was like, well, it's 100 or it's 200, or I've sold policies for over $1,000, or whatever. And I mean, I'm not making that payment. So why am I why
are you using your wallet?
Yeah, to make that decision on what I'm going to present to my client, because then again, I'm not doing a good service. I'm doing based on my need, and I have to do what they're wanting to do. But again, some people will make that sacrifice. They might not be making six figures, but they see the importance, they understand the importance, and they'll find the money, because our people, they'll find money to get themselves in these 18%,
buy a nice chain
or whatever,
credit cards.
Yeah, I know a lot
shoes,
of people.
purses.
I know a lot of people that are into the whole Gucci, Chanel, fancy shoes. Like, it's cool if you wanna spend your money on that, I have a friend that drives a really nice car that I know damn well they can't afford, all that. And I'm just like, and I spoke to them about, getting a policy, and they straight up like rejected it. You know what I mean?
I think it's all about educating people.
Yeah.
Helping them see, hey, I understand you may at first glance think this is what you need, but in reality, this is what's going to set you up for success. This is what's going to set your legacy up for success. So you're here for a purpose, to help your future grandchildren do something with what you've set forth for them.
I used to do like educational forums, especially for our community. So at that time, Jazzy used to call and make the appointments for me, and I would have an event where I'm just going to take 45 minutes of your time, and I would just educate them on what it looks like, what it is, and you can either then make an appointment to talk to you about your situation right now, or I'll give you again the resources. Like, and if it's too expensive with me, maybe Oscar can find you a better plan because he works with different companies. Again, it's just about educating, knowing your clientele, knowing when we're entrepreneurs and if this is our business. Also, like, I'm not going to try to force anything on you or try to convince you, because guess what? Now you're a liability, because now, like 3 months from now, you can't pay, and you say this,
back.
Yep.
I just got one.
A non-believer.
And for what? Because now you wasted my time and you wasted yours, and I tell them that. Please don't waste my time and don't waste yours.
Yeah. I actually, back to what I was saying about that, they didn't even want to spend $100 on a policy, and I'm just like, I know you buy hats. They're into hats.
$25 a week. They can do that.
I know they spend about $75 a hat, and I know they buy like 2 hats a month.
Because again, and it's not about that. It's about this person for me, and their ego and their appearance is something that is important to them. So you're going to spend money on what's important to you. And until you understand the importance of it, and I think people like us should use like platforms like what you guys have created here to educate people, and other platforms that you guys use to educate the community and, build a brand as an entrepreneur and be able to grow. And again, what's for you is what's for you. You have to definitely put skin in that game and talk to those people. But I also learned that my friends and family are not my number one supporters.
That's for sure.
So I just don't really I wouldn't say waste my time.
Invest your time.
I would say invest my time, because there are those people that are dying to work with me, dying for me to help them, walk them through the steps and do all those stuff. So I want to help them, the ones that are ready to get help, the ones that are ready to make sure they're responsible, because I feel like if you have a family, kids, I would say
protect their
as a
family,
mom,
right?
That's reckless. That's super reckless. And I tell people, buy something. I don't care if you can't afford $70. That's cool. What can you afford? And I usually tell, when I do my analysis, I tell them, what is your budget? What is your budget? Because we're talking about your financials. Okay, do you have a retirement? Do you have you're paying your kids' school, whatever. We're looking at all of these things. And I say, well, what do you feel comfortable with? $5, $10, $20, $150, $1,500, $10,000 a month. What is it that you feel comfortable at this moment to be able to make this a reality when you pass away? Not if. I don't use if, because you are going to pass away. What is it that you can commit? Because if you better make sure you got your number right, because if you don't, tell me what you're comfortable with, because if you do go above and beyond, or you want to pay that $70 that you're already not comfortable with, well, guess what? The only person that's going to win here is the insurance company, because you're going to cancel in 3 months, in 3 years, you're still here, and now you don't have no benefits. So this is a commitment. Yeah. This is a commitment. This is something like you're paying your water, you're paying somewhere to live, and if you don't see it that way, then this is not the time for you. You're going to lose money.
Yeah.
I had a mental switch about that, because I was kind of not prioritizing my expenses. Mm-hmm. I used to spend a lot of money on weed, on alcohol, stuff like that. And then I thought about it, and I'm just like, bruh, that's $300 a month. on marijuana.
We used
At
to do,
least,
we used
right?
to do with Toro when he. By the way, Toro, like, I don't know. I feel like a millionaire every time I walk in my kitchen. He hooked me up with my bathroom. I'm like in a spa. My kitchen, I feel like a chef, although I don't cook. But we used to talk about that all the time, Toro. Like, let's look at. Sometimes we have to dissect, and sometimes you need that friend, you need that mentor, you need groups of like or organizations that you
A
are
community,
a
right?
community that is like, you know,
On the
Like,
same page.
taking me on the right path.
or transparent. Say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I used to be a dumbass and be reckless with my money, or you know, I didn't think that this was going to happen, and just share your story. You know, I think we all have the story, and that's how, you know, we would always talk about if you did you even know that you were spending this amount of money on water or on coffee or weed or alcohol or hats,
Happy hour,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever.
shoes,
Doing
purses.
things for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because that when I had that mental switch, I was like, damn. Like, instead of worrying about all my insurance policies lapsing, you know what I mean? Like, I could just make this change and I'll be good. You know what I mean?
What change?
Like, the extra expenses that I don't need. Like,
Just reallocating your money.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And now it's like my priority are my insurance policies. Like, that's number one. You know, number two is rent. You know, you could always be a little late on your rent. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But priority number one is insurance policies.
Can I ask you a question? Do you feel like not because like insurance is important, but you is it good that you understood the severity
Yeah.
of you being reckless with that responsibility? You
Yeah,
know?
of course. Yeah.
You know, when you really understand not only in insurance, drinking and driving, when you understand the severity of
The consequences.
of being reckless, you know, it does.
So let's talk
It does
about
change that.
being financially prepared for an inconvenient time. Because those inconvenient times come at the most inconvenient time, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing about life insurance is you can use it while you're alive. So when something happens, an illness, a mishap, you have this cushion. You can say, okay, I can't work for 2 years, but that's okay because I have this in place. I was smart with my money. I'm here to protect my family. My kids are fine. And I can go through my illness without that stress of, oh, I still have to go to work and I'm battling cancer. Oh, I'm doing this and I still have to go to work. So you are setting yourself up for success by thinking ahead, thinking of, you know, what to do in those inconvenient times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we have these conversations, that's a reality. Things are going to happen. Your expenses are going to change. You know, I do tell my clients, like when they have little kids, okay, well, your kid's going to either go to college or do something. And did you know that you can use some of this money that's going to be in here to fund this? And at the same time, you know, still have the protection. You know, a lot of people, like I have 529. So it's diversifying your portfolio and teaching what that means. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they tell me, yeah, I'm already doing that. I'm already doing that. Cool. I'm so happy. I'm not telling you to like not put money in there and then now give me the money.
Trash. Just
You
kidding.
know?
Don't do it.
You know?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I tell them, okay, cool. You have your savings for your emergency. You have this, you have that. You take care of your mom, your dad, your brother, whoever, whatever you're doing. You have your money for your hats, you know, but maybe not 2 hats this month. Maybe 1. You know, maybe you skip a month.
Maybe clean all the 130 hats you have.
You know, and I feel like when they share that passion about hats, I again, maybe the social worker kicks in and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, why is it? Sometimes you find out it was because their dad used to give them something. You know what I mean? So maybe it's a woman thing, a social worker. I don't know.
You look deeper.
Yeah, because
yeah, they want to be
that's not-
socially accepted.
That's not
different
normal.
things.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not normal for you not to be able to pay shit and you getting like $75 hats every twice a month or whatever.
That's true. Listen, we got a little time left, right? But go in quickly because I have a question for you because you're a single mother. How the hell do you juggle you doing all this insurance stuff and at the same time your kids? Like, for all the single mothers out there that are trying to go into insurance or be an entrepreneur, like, what advice do you have for them?
Give us the nitty gritty though.
It's not easy. So we'll go there. But this is my saying, and I'm probably going to make shirts. So I'm going to, you guys can't copy this. This is now on record. But
This is our podcast.
Sorry,
no.
We'll cut it.
But goals don't have feelings. Okay? Goals do not have feelings, and they do not have excuses.
Or expiration dates.
Yes and no. I think so. Sometimes you may miss that opportunity because I live by that saying, preparation will meet opportunity. So if you ain't getting prepared, you're going to miss it. So now you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. But believe it or not, God will have something for you again. But being a mom, being a single mom, they're my reason. So you have to have your reason. And I have also another mentor. She's a multi-million-dollar, 2 women, and they're both single moms. They both came from nothing, and one flies in a jet and everything. And I watched them, and I was like, how the hell they do it? They're a mom. And one of the ladies, she said, like, my kids used to be like, oh, you work so damn much. She's like, but they're not saying that now because their Uber Eats, bill is like $300 a week.
Okay, so I want to kind of play devil's advocate with that. So I pride myself on being a good mom, a present mom. And sometimes that means that I'm not always present in business. And I've battled with, do I devote more to business or do I devote more to my adolescent children? Because you only have about 9 years in their core structure life to really implement your beliefs into them and your structure. So I kind of battle with, do I focus these core years on them or do I really focus on me? And I feel like I want to focus on them and not focus on me, because once they get to like 9 and 10, it's kind of like their core things are already put in there. They're already in there. Scientifically speaking, that's just how it works. From the womb to they're about 7 to 9 years old, they're absorbing everything, and you're setting them up for what to expect as adults and things like that. So how has that been? Because I don't care about paying a high Uber Eats bill and saying I could afford that. I don't care about that. I care about really being an impact and being somebody in their life long term. Money is always going to come.
With that, believe me, I totally get it. But I think it just depends. It depends. It's individually, I think, for every different mom. But not just that you can pay the bill, but also know that during that time, that they're seeing you work, putting in the time, you are teaching them during this very essential time persistence, commitment, lessons in their life that when you're not around, they're going to be able to tap in. And sometimes, lessons are very hard to learn. And some lessons, our kids will learn the hard way. That's just life. I try to be super transparent with my children at the age that they're always going to be. But I did learn, I had a coach, and, she would always say, like, what makes you happy? What makes you happy? And I'm like, my kids. Everything was about my kids. And she said, if you're not okay, they're not going to be okay. So when you are suppressing yourself, and I think a woman, their dreams, their goals, and you can't be your full self. Like I don't even think you could still be like even a good mom, because in a way we're women and we're humans and we sometimes resent it.
I think it depends on your perspective on life, because being a woman is being a mother, is being a nurturer. Being an entrepreneur is more this, boss babe culture and do your thing and do all that. And that's cool and everything. But at the end of the day, when I'm on that deathbed, what's going to matter most? What's in my bank account or how I raise my children?
I think you could do both. I think sometimes we've been put out of our box. Either you're a boss babe and you have this bank account and you neglected your kids. But why can't you do both? Why can't you find, or a mom find, a way how this can work? If you're in a 9-to-5 job, it might be a little bit difficult, But I know that I want to go to my daughter's field trip. I know I want to go at 12 o'clock to my kids' school and have lunch. I know that I don't want a nanny taking care of my baby 24 hours and I'm not there. Right. I know that because I know that feeling. Yeah. So guess what? That takes me being a boss bitch and putting my feelings aside and making certain things. Waking up at 6, working till 7:30 before they wake up, get a start in my day so that I can be present at breakfast. So there's a lot of sacrifice that you have to do as a mom, and I have to die to self all the time. Every day I have to die to self and my ego.
And
what does that mean?
I'm a witness of the shit you be doing. Like,
tell me.
Literally, like, she takes them to school, picks them up, working. Like, when she on that phone, they know not to fight. They know not to get loud. They know not to do none of that extra stuff. As soon as she hangs that phone up, it's like, what you need,
baby.
What's up? Yeah. Like, da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Integration, right? Integration.
And that works in my house. And that works with my kids' character and where they are right now, right? But I'm setting stuff up for myself because, like you said, your teenage years, I want to be maybe then have more flexibility. I want to have my team that's based in things automated in my business where I can be present. But sometimes something has to give a little bit here and a little bit there. But I share these to my children. I will say there has been times when I was, I was trying to get, Toro, where I was trying to get something into my transportation and I'm pushing to get to like this level. And my kid, for their birthday, they said all they wanted was for me not to answer my phone.
Aww.
That was very hard for me. And when they would hide my phone, put it under the pillow. Again, it didn't matter how much money was coming in. It wasn't about the money, but, it was hard. But I would cry and make policies. I would write. I would be working on my computer and, say, hey, this is what it takes. And you know what? It's not about the bank account, but I'm teaching my kids character. I'm teaching my kids that when you really want something, you can achieve it. And these things, and it's not the money. I'm working for freedom.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, I wish we can keep going, but our time is out. We're done. So thank you so much for being a guest.
So much fun.
Thank you so much
time
for
flew. Oh my God.
Thank you so much for the perspective that you just gave us. That was hardcore.
As
so
a mom,
thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I love it. I
These
love
were
it so
awesome.
much.
Anyways, y'all go ahead, hit subscribe, follow at Skin in the Game _pod on Instagram. Follow. Go ahead, plug in your Instagram.
I'm on Instagram, _insurance check.
We're gonna put it down there so you guys can follow.
Yeah,
Down
definitely. See y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Thank you for sharing and subscribing.